Hi, Evan Nicholas here. I'm going to be sharing with you some details about my life and story through the lens of a critical thinking sociologist. And to do that, as a starting place, I really love this quote from C. Wright Mills talking about the sociological imagination. As he says, it enables us to grasp history and biography and the relationships between the two within society. So that's really what I'm going to try to do with my own story. I'll tell you about my mother's family. They were of Scandinavian origin, even though going several generations back, they'd been in the United States. They had lived in a pretty homogenous village in Minnesota before they moved to Texas for economic reasons. My grandfather had a white collar job. I would absolutely consider them, in Conley's definition of the middle class. They were a family of college-educated people. It was expected and normal that my mother attended college. That carried over to me and my brother as well. My dad's family, conversely, was working class. My grandfather had a blue-collar job. They had what they needed, but not much more than that. And today they might have even been considered the working poor, according to Conley's definition on 259. One of the things he talks about that I find really interesting and that resonates with me in what I know of my own family is that often a clear distinction does not exist between the working class and the poor. So sort of over the generations, families drift back and forth between the two. And I think that's certainly descriptive of what my family's journey was in the 19th and early part of the 20th century. I've been thinking a lot about some of the social forces that shaped my life today, and I'd like to share three with you right now. The first one is the schools I attended. Both as a social institution and an agent of socialization. I attended public school all the way up until college. We had very good public schools in my hometown, which is a suburb of Dallas, Texas, and I was afforded tremendous opportunity at every turn. So another cultural force that has been very present in my life is, living in a world of consumerism, which is the steady acquisition of material possessions, often with the belief that happiness and fulfillment can thus be achieved. That's Conley's definition, and I totally identify with this. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, where there was sort of a material culture explosion. Material culture is everything that is a part of our constructed physical environment, including technology, according to Conley. And yeah, I got to watch it. Cell phones, internet. I remember before, and I was young when I got to see them implemented and how they changed the world. Cell phones, for instance, thinking about my parents at the time, they went from, being able to sort of like be alone in their car to, you can contact them at any time. I think it sort of disrupts the capacity to be really present in given situations. But there's benefits as well, obviously, that we know. But thinking about consumerism, I was really amused to hear that corporate marketing to children is a $22 billion a year industry, according to Allison Pugh. It just makes me smile because I think about some of the ad campaigns of my youth, including Super Soakers or My Buddy Kid Sister, which had a song and a commercial and everything. And if you're of that age, you remember them, and they're here 30 years later, almost. They're sticking around, and it just shows you the power of advertising. One of the transformations I witnessed as a young person in high school was the transformation of our country after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. I was a senior in high school at the time. We watched it at school unfold. We watched it all day long. It was scary. It was a loss of innocence for me personally, and maybe for our nation as well. One of the things we talked about in class is privilege in the context of race or ethnicity. I am aware that I am, as a straight white male, I sort of, do walk around in our culture with certain privilege, which is just defined by Conley as an unearned advantage. So I accept that. Another couple things that have influenced, I think, the way I think about myself is this idea of being an American, where I feel like it's important to occupy the moral high ground. We're not always successful at doing this as a country, but I do think it's part of our identity, what we try to do. And also of being a Texan, which, from a very early age, people drill into you that you should be proud, that you are people of perseverance. a couple of economic policies and trends that have affected my life. The first that comes to mind is the writer's strike in Hollywood from 2007 to 2008. I graduated college in 2006, and I wanted to be a screenwriter. I graduated from USC Film School, and it was kind of a bad time to be entering the market, during a writer's strike and then when the strike ended, all the writers in the world who had, been living pretty in need of money the last 14 months, they were going to get the jobs first. So it was a difficult time. On the other side, but the other side of the coin is I benefited from the more recent, trend of parents willing to support children a little bit after college. So thanks so much for going on this short sociological tour through some of my history, and there's so much more to share, but no time to do it. I wish you all well, and thanks for all the great back and forth conversations we had in this class.